Welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Alex Michelson. This week, the issue is what to do about our economy. Andrew Yang's idea of recurring checks now being seriously considered. The former presidential candidate is with us. Plus, California's first mail-in only election happening now in the time of coronavirus. Candidate Christie is here. Finally, the issue of mental health with unemployment so high, so many beaches shut down and graduation ceremonies canceled. One of the country's top psychologists, Dr. Michael Gervais, is with us. The Issue Is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Alex Michelson. More than 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment in the last 6 weeks. Should Americans start getting recurring checks from the government? That's an idea our next guest has been advocating for a long time. Joining us now via Skype is Andrew Yang, the former Democratic presidential candidate who's been in the news a lot lately. Andrew Yang, welcome back to The Issue Is.
It's great to be here. I wish the circumstances were better, but it's good to see you, Alex. You're looking good.
Thank you very much. You're looking good, too. We like your quarantine hair. Thanks for noticing. Let's talk for a moment, though, about that big issue of unemployment. So many folks out of work right now. You're president. You're in charge of the government. How do we fix this?
The first thing we need to do is put money into people's hands so we can weather this crisis. And the stimulus checks that already went out, they didn't reach many, many Americans. They're not enough. They essentially helped pay last month's bills, and this month's bills and next month's bills are right around the corner. So we have to put $2,000 a month into everyone's hands for the duration of the crisis. And there are dozens of members of Congress who have now come forward and said this is the step we should take, because that money doesn't disappear, Alex. It goes right back into our local economies, into groceries, rent, fuel, and things that help keep our communities, frankly, functioning. Because right now, 30 million unemployed actually understates the extent of the economic harm that our communities are experiencing.
Is there part of you that says, when it comes to universal basic income, I told you so? Because there are a lot of people that are now talking about this concept that were essentially laughing at you when you brought it up a few months ago.
Alex, what I said is that we should make this move because of the rate of change. And unfortunately, the crisis has accelerated the rate of change, where we're experiencing 10 years of automation and displacement in 10 weeks. So I'm thrilled that my campaign helped advance universal basic income right before this crisis, because we need it now more than ever.
You know, one of the criticisms, even before this, of universal basic income is that it's a disincentive for work. That people, if they're getting a check from the government, why would they keep working or going about other sorts of jobs? What do you say to that?
Millions of Americans just got that stimulus check, and I'm sure they felt the same thing we all feel, which is a sense of relief, more security in the future. They can breathe a little easier, but it doesn't make them lazy or not want to work. The fact is, we're inside because we know that's the right thing to do for our health and our community's health. So experience just shows how ridiculous it is that putting money into our hands somehow weakens our work ethic. It does not.
What do you say about the sort of broader societal questions about purpose that come from this? Because even after this crisis of the pandemic, there's still going to be a lot of people that are unemployed because of the economic aftershocks of all of this. And for folks that lose their job, how do you deal with that aspect of it, the loss of purpose?
I couldn't agree more. That is the central problem. And our economy will not snap back into place like a rubber band. Millions of these jobs that have been lost will not return. So we need to do everything we can to help give millions of Americans a path forward. That includes putting money into our hands, but that also includes job creation measures, big and small. We should be supercharging nonprofits, small businesses, state governments, schools, hospitals, anyone that needs a hand. We're short hundreds of thousands of trained healthcare workers to do contact tracing to help combat the pandemic. We need to be investing in job creation measures at every level, particularly starting at the federal level.
Another issue that you're talking about this week, you put out a PSA about discrimination in the Asian American community. It's been seen by millions. Here's part of it.
We don't have the virus more than anyone else.
And all Americans are susceptible.
Every one of us
no matter who we are.
And we know it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, as well as all of our underserved communities.
So lose the bigotry, ignorance,
finger pointing, and assaults.
And what's the reaction to this been like for you?
Well, the reaction's been tremendous because everyone knows that we're in this together. So I was thrilled to have the help of so many people who stepped forward and said, we need to say that we're all Americans, we're all in this together, and that racism is the last thing that we need right now in this time of crisis.
Do you think the Trump administration has perpetuated that?
I think it's actually the Republican strategy to try and frame the virus as a foreign effort, say this is the China virus, because it helps distract from their mishandling of the pandemic. And you don't need to take my word for it. That's actually in a memo that's being distributed. So we have to hold them accountable for the fact that, yes, this was a natural phenomenon that experts have been warning about for years. And trying to, frankly, throw Asian Americans under the bus just serves to separate us from each other rather than bring us together.
All right, we want to pause for a moment and have a little bit of fun, too. You know, we like to play music on this show. And one of the things we learned about you from your YouTube channel, you're a piano player. Let's listen to some of that. So I found this on your YouTube channel. Very nice, Andrew Yang.
Well, I'm in quarantine, and, you know, you have no choice but to try and keep yourself busy and stable.
Well, I found something else on YouTube. This is from an account called Hustle Simmons. He remixed your piano playing and some of your greatest hits, including one of your favorite songs, Return of the Mac. Take a look at this. Look at those hoops moves too, baby. It's only a matter of time. We need to play basketball together.
Wow, I would love that, man, because that would mean that this quarantine is over.
Exactly.
So
All right, well, we're going to have more of Andrew Yang, including a conversation about his future. What's next for him? Stay with us. More of The Issue Is right after this. So I've never been to a political event quite like this before.
He's just as good looking in real life.
That's some of the fun we had with then presidential candidate Andrew Yang out on the campaign trail. He joins us now via Skype. I got to give a shout out to the Yang gang because they've been very good to me in Twitter, say, of all the groups. So thank you for your supporters being so kind.
You deserve it, man. You gave us like a spotlight when others would not. So thank you, Alex.
We appreciate that. And let's talk a moment about the campaign. Now that you're on the other side of it, your own campaign, what were some of the most important lessons that you learned about yourself from the experience and the most important lesson you learned about this country from the experience?
Well, what I learned about myself is that I am a very, very fortunate husband because my wife was a rock star throughout the entire campaign. I was away for the better part of 2 years. And I told people that I had two goals. One is to eradicate poverty, and number two is to stay married. And thanks to Evelyn, I knocked out number two. So thank you, Evelyn. Appreciate the heck out of you. On the country's side, I learned that Americans want the same thing that we all want. They just want a future that they can be excited about for themselves and their families, that we're still a very, very good, generous, open-minded country. And my campaign was the challenge and journey of my life, but I loved it. And I met so many tremendous people that I still miss. So thank you, Yang Gang, because thanks to you all, we helped advance solutions that our country needed right as this crisis hit.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people. You have this huge online apparatus now. So where do you go from here? What's next for you?
Well, we're continuing to present our vision for the country. I just launched a podcast, Yang Speaks, this week. That was top 10 upon its launch. I'm working on getting money into people's hands through my organization, Humanity Forward. We've distributed 1.4 million and counting. I'm part of Project 100 that is putting 100 million into 100,000 different families' hands in the next 100 days, and we're more than halfway towards that fundraising goal. There's the All Americans campaign saying that we're all in this together and that Asian Americans are as American as anyone else. So I'm staying very busy
One other note on the presidential thing, you are suing New York, at least the election board, because they canceled the Democratic primary in that state. What's your bottom line point? Because their point is, look, we basically have a Democratic nominee. Why are we going to put people's safety in jeopardy, have people go to the polls right now?
Other states who have been in this position have just let the primaries go. For New York to not delay, but to cancel its primary altogether is unheard of. Like, who's ever heard of that? Just be like, yeah, we're not going to do it this time.
In terms of New York, though, there's a lot of rumors that you might run for mayor of New York. Is that something you're thinking about?
Well, we just want to try and solve problems. Certainly, there are enough problems, unfortunately, to go around. But it's very flattering to be thought of in that way. I am attracted more to executive roles because I think you can roll your sleeves up and get more done.
But if you were asked to be in the cabinet, would you think about that too?
That qualifies as an executive role. Usually, are like running an agency in many cases.
And just to wrap things up on a fun note, quarantine life, it's different for everybody. What's quarantine life like for you, especially with 2 young kids? What are you watching? Anything you're binging these days?
I did watch Tiger King. I felt like, you have to do that to understand what the heck is going on in our pop culture. I just appreciate teachers every single day because I have 2 young boys, 7 and 4, and they are a handful. And hats off to the people that educate our kids every day.
Thank you very much, Andrew Yang. We say goodbye with more music. This is you with a hologram of Tupac. And yes, this really happened. There we go. There it is. Andrew Yang showing off that deep shoulder action for the gangsta party happening here on the Issue Is. I love it. We're virtually having a dance party. Tupac, Pride of California. Andrew Yang, thank you. Congressional candidate Christie Smith with us next. Stay tuned. This is part of an ad for Democratic Assemblywoman Christie Smith. She is running for Congress right now in California's 25th district. She's running against Mike Garcia, former Navy fighter pilot and executive at Raytheon. Polls show that this race is close. They're running to replace Katie Hill, who resigned from that seat after a scandal. Election day is technically May 12th, but the election is almost completely vote by mail due to the coronavirus. Joining us now is Assemblywoman Christie Smith. Thanks so much. Welcome to The Issue Is for the first time.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Let's talk more about running in the time of coronavirus in a second, because you're sort of a guinea pig for what the rest of the state is going to be doing. But first, because every race is a contrast, the most important differential between you and Mike Garcia.
First of all, I'm the person running with the most actual government experience. And I think if ever there was a time that proves that we need our government institutions to be standing up and working on behalf of the American people and on behalf of Californians, that moment is now. And I've been doing that work for 9 years. Another key contrast is on healthcare. I'm someone who has been advocating all of my career in public service that we need greater access to healthcare, both in our infrastructure as well as coverage. And then third, the contrast on how we're both approaching this race. I'm really leaning in, discussing issues heavily, wanting the community to know that I'm here for them. And we're just not hearing a lot of that from my opponent.
Well, and I should say a note regarding Mike Garcia. We wanted to bring him, have his point of view on the show. We invited him to be a part of our show for several weeks, either in debate format or one-on-one. We offered him to do a Zoom from his time and place that worked for him. His team said that he didn't have any time in his schedule to do anything with us. So that's why we're not hearing his point of view for this. But this race has really become sort of a national proxy fight. You got Donald Trump, the president, endorsing Garcia. This week you have Hillary Clinton endorsing you because this is the big race happening right now in the country.
Right.
Sort of, what do you think is the biggest difference in terms of the coronavirus and how it should be dealt with? What do you think is the most important thing Congress can do when it comes to dealing with this extraordinary pandemic?
Well, we know that Congress is going to continue to need to pass economic supports for the business community, for individuals. But the other thing that I want to see Congress do next is also focus on what more we can do from the legislative perspective about getting a national testing regime and a public health system in place in order for us to do the kind of healthcare infrastructure we're going to need to get our economy back on track. And that means a testing system where everybody can get tested, that we've got protocols for how often people need to be tested until we have those serology, those antibody tests in place for everybody and or a vaccine. And then what does the public health support look like that allows us to do really good, really comprehensive contact tracing to shut down areas of hotspots as soon as they start to happen, so that we don't have to shut down the whole economy again once we do start getting up and going.
Let's talk about this campaign itself. You are campaigning virtually. He's campaigning virtually. We've never really seen anything like this before. What's it like being a candidate in the time of coronavirus?
When our callers call about the election, we're also connecting people with where their nearest food bank is or what the domestic violence hotlines are. And so, we're seeing this as a challenge, but as an opportunity to be a supportive part of the community as well.
All right. Well, we like to play music on this show. I don't know if you're a Parks and Recs fan or not.
I occasionally get compared to Leslie Knope, so I guess so.
Okay, so this is for you. They actually played some music this week. They had a special show via Zoom with all of them. Leslie Knope singing, the whole cast singing together this week, raising money for those in need right now. So this song is dedicated to you.
Your 5,000 candles in the wind.
Our thanks to you, Assemblywoman Christie Smith, and best of luck to you in the race going forward.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Spread your wings and fly.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who can forget that scene from the film Network? A lot of Californians feel like Howard Beale these days. Our next guest will hopefully make you feel a little better. Dr. Michael Gervais, one of the country's top mental health experts. He's a high-performance psychologist. He co-founded a company called Compete to Create with Seattle Seahawks coach Pete Carroll, and he hosts a podcast called Finding Mastery. Dr. Gervais, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Thank you for having me.
You've been one of the most calming forces I've seen anywhere on this issue, so I wanted to bring you back. We talked to you at the beginning of this process. A lot has changed in a month or so. Where do you think the national psyche is right now?
We're ready. We are flat out ready to be able to hug people, to be able to spend time with people. We are recalibrating the importance of humanity and relationships, and we're also recalibrating and reimagining autonomy and what it means to be able to govern oneself and to do so in a way that takes care of others. This is a massive moment for us, and I don't want to lose the gravity of how important this moment is for humanity.
So what's your most important advice in this moment?
And we're recalibrating that, hey, you know what? Relationships matter, and the relationships with our loved ones begins with our relationship with ourselves. And to invest in oneself is the opportunity right now to say, okay, who am I? And how do I want to be as I move through these phases of uncertainty? And then the second part is, what are the skills to help manage stress? Exhaling. Long exhales is an ancient signal to our brain that says, hey, we can relax right now. In this moment, we're safe.
You're joining us from one of California's fine beach cities. One of the big stories locally this week was the closure of beaches in Orange County. What is the sort of symbolic importance of the beach to the Californian?
What the beach represents is freedom. It represents space. It represents relaxation. It represents the best parts of California. So as an emblem for all of those, not being able to participate in that is hard. The challenges are okay because we're trying to retool, reimagine, recalibrate how to have freedom and what that really means. And it's not going somewhere, it's being you in any environment. That's the ultimate freedom. And this experience is helping us triple down on what it means to be free, even in the confines of one's home.
I want to let people know, by the way, we'll put this information up on the screen. You're doing something pretty cool. This is at competetocreate.net/warriors Edge. This is a course that you often offer to our military. You're now offering to America's first responders for free, doing your part to help them through this mental health challenge. So that's something people can get at your website. So thank you for doing that.
This is a course to help them train their minds so that they can be more present, more engaged with what they're doing, and live their very best life.
Well, I feel better after talking with you. I'm ready to exhale. You want to exhale together?
Yeah, absolutely. 8 seconds out. That's about a bare minimum that you want to do. So big inhale and about 8 seconds out.
I love it. Dr. Michael Gervais, thank you so much for being with us as we celebrate our 2-year anniversary here on The Issue Is.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our first guest on our first show.
Honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
2 years ago, Gavin Newsom was our first guest on our first episode of The Issue Is. It's been kind of a wild ride. We've gotten to talk to the president, to presidential candidates, to pretty much every leader in California, and had lots of fun, including dancing with Gloria Allred many times along the way.
Welcome back to The Issue Is. I'm Gloria Allred, wishing Alex a very happy second anniversary of the show. Hi.
I love that. You're live?
I am live. I also have a little friend with me to wish you a second anniversary, happy anniversary. United States Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg writes, because we often discuss legal issues on your show. And so I know she'd want to wish you a happy anniversary as well. No, I haven't checked with her, sorry. But if she knew you as I do, I know she'd be sending her best wishes.
I hear that RBG is a big fan. I see it in the Twitter mentions. Wow, okay, Gloria, that's so sweet. Gloria, of course, is our most frequent guest. She was here last year for our 1-year anniversary with a cake. And so that's so sweet of you virtually to be here as we sort of virtually blow out candles.
I'm a little upset with you, if you don't mind my saying, because I just saw you cheating on me. You were dancing with Mr. Yang there on your show. And I thought you were only going to dance with me, that I was your one and only. But now I see
we have an exclusive relationship. So thank you so much. What a great surprise.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the 3rd anniversary as well.
Excellent. What a great treat. Thank you to our producers that pulled that off. That was a total shock for me. I love it. Thank you, Gloria Allred.
She is. Bye-bye.
Bye. And speaking of dancing, let's end with a little dancing this week. It is nice to smile. So this is a video from the New Kids on the Block. They've got a brand new music video featuring a lot of celebrity friends encouraging you to stay at home. Let's smile at the end of a tough week. Thanks so much for watching The Issue Is, and thanks to all of you that have been with us from the start. See you next time.